Yo, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name is Jody Sedrick, and as you know, every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And I tell you, this past weekend has been absolutely amazing. Had my oldest son come in, my youngest daughter came into town, and so we've had everybody in the house except for my son Zane, and we've just had laughter and teasing and playing games, and we're going to go out to dinner again. So yeah, it's just a fun time to hang with the kids, and plus it's a little warmer, so I'm loving that. So and then I'll be heading to San Diego to hang with my son. He's got a car problem, so he and I are going to go solve the problem together. But anyway, just always, as you guys know, always glad to be here with you. And I brought back a good friend of mine. I mean, he and I are really becoming tight. He
Right.
was a guest on the podcast about a month ago. His name's Rigo Santana. How are you, Rigo?
How you doing, Jody? Just,
Uh,
here rocking and rolling on a Saturday.
that's it, man. Well, and it's like,
Can you
so
hear me?
Rigo Santana has his own business, Extreme Excellence, but he's also the Sonax ambassador, and he travels the world. He trains. He has a great training program, and it's just super fun to be aware and know him. Oh, looks, there we go. Lost you for just a sec. So,
Right on.
but it's all good. So, but yeah, so he and I, you know, when he came and visited with me a couple weeks ago, we just had this great conversation about learning, growing, the trials of breaking up. And after the fact, he called me up and he said, "Hey, Jody, I just want to let you know that that day that we were scheduled to record the podcast, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make that meeting to connect. And I really debated internally, and finally, I didn't want to let you down. So I just went ahead and did the podcast. And so I really appreciated Rigo's just honesty going, "Hey, man, Jody, I want you to know that was hard for me and hard for me just to step into it." And I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about that, because I think a lot of times we men, we get up and we are just not feeling it. The weight of having a business, the weight of having a family, the weight of not taking care of ourselves properly, both emotionally and health wise. Man, all of a sudden you get into this mental darkness, this mental funk, and sometimes it's hard to break through it. And so I wanted to talk to Rigo about that, in particular about that day, how you push through it, because I think that's helpful to all of us men to go, you know what, some days I have those crappy days and I'm not sure I want to roll out of bed, let alone go to work and take care of my kids.
No, you know what, Jody? Like you said, man, after that podcast, I was debating on it so much because I was pumped up, looking forward to it, right? But then as the day got there, I like we had talked about, I was dealing with this depression, that came upon me because of my separation. And thank God I'm pretty much at the last width of it, or should I say the roller coaster ride. But that day of the podcast, the depression, dude, that I was getting, it just hovered over me slowly but surely. And I'm like here thinking, no, I'm supposed to talk about how as a man I already conquered, how the separation was something that tore me apart, but I've been able to work through. But holding behold, I had him, and here comes a wave of depression and back of me reminding me of the struggle that I've had the last 2 years and some change. And I'm like, wow, this can't be happening to me. And then I'm like, how do I tell Jody that I can't make it? I can't cancel on Jody. I go, we're just recently reconnecting again. We're having the strong powwow, and then I'm gonna tap out on him. I'm like, oh man. So then mentally, I was pushing myself all throughout the day to talk. And even in the podcast, I'm pretty sure if you go back on it and you compare me now to then, you'll see the difference because I literally I was talking, but it was like that depression, dude, that comes over you. It takes the life out of you. You're like talking, but you're like in a zombie mode. And so I was pushing through it because I wanted to really, get my message out and like really let everybody know that, what was happening to me. But the devil comes at you at your best moments, and he did that day, man. Here we are talking, and I just felt sad, and I just felt like full force depressed. So here the depression came over me again, and here I am saying how I have overcome it. So that's why I was like, I needed to tell you, how I was feeling at the moment, because I want men to know, like, here I've gone to therapy over 2 years voluntarily. I was in order or forced, so I've done it on my own, trying to heal this separation that I went through and that I've endured. And then even at the point where I feel that, oh, I overcame it, I'm finally out the rabbit hole. Hold and behold, remind me it's not gone yet. So what I had to do that day, which I've learned how to do, push through it. You have to mentally get a grip on your emotions and tell yourself, you know what, I'm here, I'm in the now, not in the past, and not in the future. And you got to remind yourself, you know what, life's gonna be all right. I'm here, I'm active, and remind yourself that, you know what, you don't have no control of the past. It's gone. It's a back burner, and the future you don't know what's holding. And try to bring yourself back into rhythm, because if you don't, you'll go down that rabbit hole that will lead you straight into solitary confinement time. And it'll lead
Yeah.
you into the point where you're starting to think these negative thoughts. Yeah, mamas. I'm the phone. Okay, I'll be over there right now. All right. Oh, that's my baby.
That's
Um,
okay. You want to take a break and circle back around?
no, she just comes in and out all the time. Um, and so I was feeling bad, and but I couldn't tell you. But then when we talked, I had to let you know that, you know what, Jody, at the end of the day, that was one of those days, man, that comes over you and knocks you out. So even as you feel better, they will have those. Should you say those? When you have those falas, I don't know how you say it. You know, setbacks. You'll have those minor setbacks for the day, and you have to learn how to push through them to be able to enjoy what's happening in the moment. So yeah, that happened to me, Jody, like a lightning bolt. It was like it was on a timer, ready to kick my butt that day.
And it's really tough because, and the thing that I appreciate is that you felt comfortable enough with me after the fact to go, you know what, that was really hard for me. I was mentally in a dark place. I was sliding into, thinking about the past, thinking about what could I say, all of these things that were going through your head that were starting to build up and try to crush your spirits, right? And I think there are a lot of men that are walking through life that have these crushing experiences that weigh heavy on their soul. But unlike you, they don't have somebody that they can turn to. They haven't found a men's group. They haven't found a friend, a confidant that they can be open with, right? Because a lot of us, and you talked about this the last time that we met, there's a lot of machismo, both in Latino cultures and American culture, where, you know what, I don't need to talk about it with anybody. I just need to pull myself up by the bootstraps, and I need to put on, a half smile of a face and go to work. And the internal side of us is just going, it's like a hurricane, and we don't know where to turn or how to go. And we're trying to man up. And I just really appreciate that you were able to go, man, that was a tough day, because I think more men need to have a space where they can say, man, I'm having a tough day and I don't know how I'm going to push through this. Can you just spend lunch with me and we go get a Coke and some fries? Or just, man, can we just go for a walk?
You know what, Jody, and honestly, it's having lunch with a friend. It's really getting back into the fight of living life. You know me, guys, I've emphasized. I come from South Central. I've always said I really came from a real background. I carry childhood trauma by the truckloads. right? But I didn't know that until I got into therapy. And healing that part of me has been a journey within itself, because the adversity that I had to deal with and the pain in order to get to the other side has been tremendous, right? And even here, I find myself still going through waves. And it's all right. It's all right as a man to hurt. It's all right to cry. And it's all right to reach out for help. You have to, because there's nothing set for men as support. There really isn't. I mean, I went as far as being part of, an empowered group of men, but I had to pay. Right? Because they're there to help, but hey, you know what? They also need they're professionals or they're life coaches, and they're doing that as a business because for whatever experience they have. So I paid there, and then I also, like I said, I went to these group therapy. Some of them are free, but you have to make the time and effort to be there. And then I don't want to get religious, but then I also found myself, I grounded myself with God, with my higher power, and I built a personal relationship with him, which I had never done in my life. So it's not just one sole thing. It's like the sun. It's well rounded, and in order for you to feel the heat again, you got to connect all those dots, and you got to get rid of the ego. The ego's deadly. It's deadly, point blank. It'll destroy you. With your, I'm Mr. Hot Shot or Mr. I Know It All, or coming in with the anger attitude. It'll destroy you. And even in your journey, it's so hard to heal for us men, because in the process you're dismantling the ego.
Yeah.
And if you're like, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, who knows how long you've been living with the ego, to take the time to break that ego down, it takes a lot of hard work, buddy. And at times you just kind of tap out. And then when you tap out, there's nobody there to grab you from the back and pull you. But that's why you got to surround yourself around positive, good people that will take the time to tell you, hey, you know what? It's all right, man. What's going on? And I'll give you just enough time to catch your wind to be able to get to the next episode. So, like, it all built up to that moment, and I just really felt the need to tell you, because, like I said, I don't got space for ego. I really don't, because I realized how deadly it was and where it put me. So I needed a community to connect with you, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. So whatever man is going through a separation, he just lost his corporate job. A guy that's hands on and he doesn't have no other skills and he can't seem to find his way. You know what, man? Reach out, man. There's help out there. You're not alone. We're not bulletproof. Me,
No.
myself, and I touch on it again. Me coming from South Central, surviving, you know, everything and above to be where I'm at today. It happened to me. It could happen to anybody. I've met military men that have felt the hit, corporate guys, hands-on guys. It covers all grounds and all nationalities. But this time, I just felt like I needed to really let everybody know, so they know
Yeah.
that, hey, there's options. There's
Yeah, I
options out
think
there.
it's tough too because, we as men, we've been conditioned, we've been trained that we need to have it all together, right? And so the ego really pushes us to have it all together, to put on the strong face.
Right.
And the ego can get in the way of us humbling ourselves and going, you know what, I need some help. And the challenging thing is that a lot of times we as men, we don't reach out for help until something really tragic happens in our family, in our marriage, in our business. It's just like, yesterday I was talking to a very close person to me, and he's in the middle of a messy divorce. And he used a word that just hit me. He said, I feel emasculated because of what's happening. And I think whatever the challenge is, sometimes they are so overwhelming that they leave us feeling neutered. They leave us feeling less of a man because we haven't been taught that it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be upset and angry and frustrated, but it's not okay to stay there. And we tend to stay there in the sense that we push everything down and we just bottle it up, and it's put in this little box until one day something happens and it explodes.
You know what? On that token, Joey, I'm gonna use my life experience. being brought up in the hood, not knowing systematically, I built an armor around me. And when I mean an armor, because of my childhood traumas and everything, a defense mode, which was what? It was violence. It was to be everything I responded to was just hard, my way or the highway. Not knowing I grew up like that, and then I went into my adulthood, and then boom, that one moment, like your friend said, life hit me, and when life hits you, because like I think Inky Johnson said, it's not if you're walking into adversity or walking out of adversity, either or adversity is coming, right? So when that moment comes and it hits you, you're programmed, like you said, a certain type of way. And to unprogram that person and to be vulnerable, it is hard, dude. Hard. But there's hope. Why?
Yeah.
Why do I say it's hope, Jody? Now that we talked about the bad stuff and your friend going through a divorce, and I have friends of mine that are going through situations that reach out to me and I talk to them, and even me telling them, hey, you know what? There's these options. You know what? I see their ego and their machismo so so up there that they won't even accept that they're willing to go, right? But as a friend, all I could do is tell them, you know what? There is an option. But on top of that, the healing. I'm gonna share something with you right now. Um, Something happened to me yesterday, right? That I know that has helped me get to that point. All the healing, all everything that I've gone through, everything that I've learned in this journey, my connection with a higher power helped me yesterday. My daughters had a performance, right? That's what and I went and I attended. But behind the attendance, my ex had told me, you know what? I'll get the girls ready for you and this and that. And I'm like, okay, sure, I appreciate it. But little did I know what was coming right behind it. He goes, I just want to let you know that when you go to a school performance, I'm taking my new boyfriend. Oh, Jody. 2 years and after 2 years and some change, I finally was gonna get in a situation where I was gonna see her with somebody. I've never seen her with nobody. And I've heard of it, but I never seen something like, oh man. And my head starts going in circles now. My daughter's performance, why there? My head's gonna starts whoa, 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 Rigo, slow down. So it's just you gotta be present, like I've learned through my therapy. You're going there for one purpose, for your daughters. You're being there so they know that they have a dad, you love them, and you're not there for the boyfriend, you're not there for your ex. Regardless of whatever happens around you, you're there for them. And I went yesterday. It's great school performance, this and that. And I'm sitting in a chair, like in the movies, waiting for the moment to come. And it came. The finale came, and there she comes. She greets my girls, and the boyfriend was there. And I knew that that you know what? Okay, now let's really put where everything into action. And we were walking, and I was she didn't introduce me to her, so I took initiative to introduce myself. How you doing? And he told me his name. I told him mine, and I said, "Do you have?" And the first thing that came out of my mind was like, "Do you have kids?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, you're gonna make this easy for me." I said, "As a father, my main priority or my first is to make sure my daughters are always safe. So all I ask of you is that when they're with you, to make sure they're safe because they have a father." And it was short, clean. We talked. Said, hey, I'm not trying to replace you. I'm not trying to do this. Blah, blah, blah. But the old Rigo wouldn't have went about it like that. You know what I mean? The old Rigo, it would have been a whole different ballgame. But it's no longer there because his healing journey has, prospered this new person that was able to approach that situation in a very more loving, humbling, and more of a human being type of way. So after the conversation and we were getting right part of my way, I told him, "Hey, you know what? Be safe." I'm telling him the new dude, be safe. Why? Because I had to take the higher road, man. I healed. It's been a journey, but to all men, I'm letting you know it is possible because it happened to me yesterday. The finale we none of us want to see played out in front of me. And it was just yesterday. And what's the chances of it happening right before the podcast, right? So there is. But in order to get there, Jody, I'm telling we got to tell every other community, it takes a lot of hard work. A lot. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, no matter what age bracket you're at, there's hope. Now I understand that life doesn't come to an end. It just starts again, you know?
I love that, right? Because I imagine leading up to the the dance recital of your daughter, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of mental gymnastics that were going on. How am I going to do this? How am I going to face him? What am I going to say? What am I not going to say? Am I going to be able to keep my cool?
Yeah.
And the expectation building up to that
Oh my
event
God.
was more of a hell than actually facing the reality of life is starting again.
Yeah. It's not the end. It's just starting again, and looking at him, in back of my head, I'm gonna be honest. I wish her the best. I wish that things work out the best for her because if I couldn't make her happy, if it was in my place to be a part of her long life journey, and if whoever it is, I wish them the best of luck because why? They're gonna be around my daughters, and my daughters need to be as good as they can. But I needed to be a place where I was able to transmit that. And like I told him, I know this conversation, they were pushing for it to happen, but I didn't really want it to happen because I wasn't ready. But it happened when it needed to happen. And we're here now. And he said,
Yeah.
no, you know what? He said, under different circumstances, he goes, me, I really feel me and you would have gotten along. I said, I agree with you, but the circumstances are these. And that was that. So there's hope. There's hope, Jody. And right now, just talking to what you triggered in me, and look how things works. You're talking, right, and it just hit me because I've been trying to figure out how come I felt depressed the last time we talked. It was because of that, Jody. I had to remember my whole journey that coming up week or 2 weeks to the podcast. And it just now hit me. That's why I got depressed because my thoughts started going and they started accumulating. And the day of, I was like, poof, done. But now I don't go there. I have I have methods, so I work on methods to help me detour the thoughts and to try to ground me again.
Yeah, and
So
it's really challenging because a lot of us men, especially when you're dealing with divorce or some type of trauma where you're trying to heal, it is easy and I think almost natural for us to continually be looking in the rearview mirror.
yeah,
And the problem is you can't move forward when you're looking in the back, right?
no,
It's
you
okay
can't.
to go, this is where I'm at. And this is what led me to here. I got off track, but you know what? Now I'm on track. So I'm going to look ahead and I'm going to build ahead. I'm going to figure out what I need to become moving forward. Yes, I need to own. Yeah, I woke up and here I am, but I'm going to own the steps moving forward. And I'm going to be the father my kids need. I'm going to be respectful and kind to my ex. I'm not going to disparage her with my kids, which can be really challenging when you have, you know, very hard feelings, right? I mean, there's a balance of knowing what to share, what not to share, having the wisdom and knowing how to do that and moving forward. And you've come to a great place. I mean, I love the story, of you being able to kind of because you told me before, guess what's happening? And dude, all day I was praying for you. I'm like, man, bless Rigo with a good experience with this. And then, you were able to obviously hit it out of the park. So that's awesome. So
Yeah, it was an experience. It needed to happen, and I thank God that throughout my journey, it got me ready for it yesterday. It's something that I had to live through, and I'm glad in a way now that I got it out of the way, and now move forward and focus on my daughters and myself. At the end of the day, and also let men that besides the tools that there is light at the end of the tunnel. That it's not the end, but the start of a new beginning.
yeah. That's awesome. So I love that. And I've loved the conversation. And hopefully you guys listening have gleaned something that will really help you. But I want to go to something that's kind of funny.
Oh my God! I think I know what you're gonna talk about. Oh, Jesus.
so
Man,
so Rigo calls me up and he's like, Jody, you'll never believe what I got in the mail. And I'm sure some of you men have started getting them. I remember when I got my first letter from the
man,
AARP.
what, man, yo, Jody, I get my mail, man. That day I'm looking. I said, man, I've seen these letters, like you see AAA and you see other members. Where I've seen these letters at? So like I start opening my envelope, and then all of a sudden, as I start pulling out, congratulations to all your benefits, and then I see the big 50. I said, oh Lord! And I know I was gonna turn 50. I know it, right? But that envelope, man, and those letters, and the way it hits you, it's like reality hits you, bro. Like, you know what? You're 50, man. You're like a half a century old. I said, Lord Jesus. I looked around. I'm not gonna lie, Jody. I looked around. I put the letter back in the envelope and I put it down. I said, I just didn't open that envelope right now.
I
So
love that, right? Because every one of us, especially as we're getting older, you have those key moments that just slap you in the face and go, you know what? You're not 25 and fly anymore. You're
nah,
gray and
you're old. You're like wow. And because here you live your life and you don't pay attention to your age. But I mean, realistically, at me, I even told one of my boys, you know what, man, that letter it kind of hit me different. But I go, it's a blessing, man, because I was supposed to die when I was before I was 20 or in my 20s, and I didn't. I say that because of the lifestyle we lived once upon a time.
yeah.
And here I am, 50, reaching 50, but they could keep the benefits. I'm like,
Yeah,
but
no, it's funny because I turned 58 this year, right?
right,
And we went out to dinner, and my wife turns to me, she goes, "It's not gonna be long before you can get the senior discount." I'm like, they can have the discount. I'm like, I don't need it. So but yeah, it's crazy learning, growing, experiencing life because sometimes life, man, it throws you some curveballs, right? It throws you the unexpected, but it also throws you beauty and strength. And if you embrace the entire journey, you become more than you were when you were 20. I mean, look at who you are now
right.
versus who you were at 20. And do you like who you've become?
You know what? Honestly, in my 20s, because of my mentality or my surroundings, I just thought that was the best version of me. And I think Ed Mellett said that every year a new version of me is born. And at 50, this is the 50th version of me being born. You know, um, am I glad where I'm at? Yeah, because now at this age, not because I turned 50, but because of everything I experienced, I could honestly tell you that I know how to love correct now. So my perspective of love has changed because now I embrace it. I feel it. Love is not materialistic. Love doesn't mean you do something good for anybody. Love is, you love, you embrace, yourself. You're at peace with yourself. And when you love yourself, you're able to transmit love to other people generally, not because, oh, you want to be with that person or because you want to buy them something. Now I know that, when you have a problem in life, life is going to hit you. Adversity is always going to come. But you know what? Now the way I deal with it is different. I look at things different, and I ground myself. So this version of me at 50, I mean, you know, what we're about to do in a couple weeks, just moving a little bit out to the left, we're about to make history, right? And with the project that we're working on, and that old Rigo would have never been able to put that together because my mentality was different, my energy was different. The people that I connect with now elevate to me because they feel it. I don't need to tell anybody anything; they feel it, and this is what the new version of Rigo has created throughout this lifetime. And do I regret being the old Rigo? The only thing, unfortunately, that I wish I could go back might be the people that got hurt throughout the process, whether they were living the same lifestyle if I was living or not. That's it. Because I mean, who am I to bring any harm upon anybody? But all that has made me who I am today.
I love that. I,
And
I love that.
yesterday's tomorrow shouldn't make shouldn't mark tomorrow's future. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm at peace. Yesterday, as I said, I had to be present for my daughters, not for my ex or for him. And I'm here talking to you, right? Because the last podcast, I'm going through what I went through. I probably would have been a hot mess right now, but I'm not. You know, I'm not. So I'm at a good place, and I'm gonna still keep on working on myself, Jody. I still got. I'm not saying this is it. You keep on working because next year's version might be better than year's version. I have to be a great father for my daughters, and there's a lot of things that I still need to learn, and embrace.
I love that, man. I'm really enjoying our conversations. I'm so grateful that you're willing to share your journey, and you and I talked about this. You're sharing because you want to have an impact, because there's other men that we know that are suffering and working through challenges in silence, and they're not quite sure how to get through it. And so we're trying to open our hearts, open our family, open ourselves up, and being vulnerable and saying, look, guys, we've been there, we've walked there. And it's just great to be able to have these conversations. And I really appreciate your rawness, your openness, and being willing to
No,
share.
no, you know what? And I share them just because I'm honestly, Jody, it was so hard for me to go through that journey. It was so luckily I had enough people around me to support me. But this is for all those guys that don't have nobody. This is for all the guys that don't have no support. And even then, I just experienced a situation where I reached out and I tried to help somebody that is an alcoholic, and he's dealing with that disease, right? So I try to reach out to him and try to help him. Well, guess what? He wasn't ready for the help. He told me he was, but when I reached out to try to help him, he wasn't ready. And then I had to ground myself like, hey, Rigo, you want the best for him right now. But guess what, Rigo? He's not ready to receive it or embrace it. So, Rigo, it doesn't make you a bad guy. You got to back off, because now you're getting your emotions caught up on his personal decisions, and he's free to choose and do as he pleases. And you got to be all right with that, Rigo, because it doesn't mean you're a bad guy. He's just not ready. So I told that to myself, and I told him, you know what? Whenever you're ready, man, just reach out to me. And the minute I told him, he said, you know what, man, thank you, man. I kind of felt a little pressure when you were telling me that, about these things. I said, you know what? I caught that. I go, and it's all right, man. Whenever you're ready, reach out to me. And I left it at that. So even
That's
then,
awesome.
I'm pretty sure people will come across situations like that. And it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's just their processing in there. Yeah.
No, I love that, because sometimes you're just not ready to move.
Nah.
Right? You want to, you should, but you're not ready to move. And I think that's an important lesson.
True.
I want to thank you so much for being my guest. I mean, I love our conversations. I'm really excited about what's coming up with what you and I are working on, the side project for the detailing industry. There's some really cool things that I'll share on Facebook, and he'll share. It's pretty fun.
You know what? Let's just that within itself, within the next weeks, it's gonna be historical, and the people that we're gonna impact is gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
That within itself is gonna be the biggest payoff.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. And that's really what it's about. It's about having impact, right? And that's
Yeah.
the driver behind my podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's designed to ignite the fire within you to become a better husband, a better father, a better version of yourself. And I'm also pretty excited. I'd like to invite you guys to check out my new podcast with my wife. It's actually her idea. It's called
Awesome.
Into the Gray. And we're talking about all of the things about AARP and getting older, and
Oh wow.
the mindset, and kids getting older. I mean, everything's on the table. I'm really excited about it. So I'd like to invite you guys to check that out. I know you're busy, so just pop it in your eardrops. And we're only going to do it every 2 weeks or so, but it's fun. So anyway,
Right
thank
on.
you guys for tapping in. Rigo, thank you for your time. And we will check you
Thank
guys same time, same bad channel, just next week.
Thank you, Jody, and a big shout out to everybody.
Thank you, brother.